Hi, my name is Jean Campbell, and I'm here today to share with you some things about my experience with Revive Richmond. When Revive Richmond first came to Richmond, I didn't go to the training. I wanted to be part of it, but I had some concerns because of my physical limitations, and so I didn't go to the training. But I stayed at home and I prayed every Saturday when I knew the group was out in the streets. Well, a couple of months ago, I just had this strong feeling from the Lord that I needed to go down to the church, meet the people who were going out. And so I went on a Saturday, and while they were in the streets, I stayed behind with one of the other members of the team, and we prayed for the people as they were out in the streets. And I really enjoyed the experience. So a couple weeks later, when it was time to go back, I thought, I'm really going to try going out on the streets today. So they gave me this nice little orange shirt, which the team wears, which makes them visible to the community. People are familiar with them, and so it does help when you're out in the street with the people. So the first thing we did was we walked down toward a park where there was a ball game going on, and we stopped at a lady's house and prayed for her. She was a shut-in. And then we met a man on the street who had just had eye surgery, and the pastor knew him, and we prayed for him as well. So we did our little rounds, and then we decided it was time to come back to the church. And as we were walking back to the church, we ran into a man and his wife. The man was carrying a bag, a grocery bag, and both of them were walking on canes. And they weren't very old. They were probably, in their 30s, maybe early 40s. So we stopped and said hello and asked what they had in the bag, and the guy said, "I have corn, would you like some?" So he offered a piece of corn to Natalie, one of the team members, and she took the corn and he explained to her how to cook it. Well, we were just really amazed at this guy and his generosity, and the pastor asked if there was anything we could pray for him. And he said, "Well, yes, my wife just had surgery and I'm recovering from something, and so we would appreciate the prayer." And the pastor asked him if he knew Jesus, and he said, "Well, yes, he did. And in fact, he used to be a minister, but he had strayed from the faith, and he was trying to get back and attending a local church." The pastor asked him where, and he told, but it just so happened that it was pastor's church, but it was the early morning Hispanic session of the church. So he was really excited about that. So then, as he was talking, I noticed that he had an accent and it didn't sound Hispanic, and I asked him, was he Italian? And he said, yeah, he was Sicilian. And I said, oh, Siciliano, yeah. And he said, yeah. And so we got to talking about Italy and stuff. And then we got into the prayer, and Natalie began praying for him. And as she was praying for him, I just had this really strong sense that God was telling me something that he wanted this man, Salvatore, to hear. And it just kept getting stronger. And I'm not usually a person who breaks into somebody's prayer or will interrupt, but I just felt that I really had to, and the more I tried to ignore it, the stronger it got. And so I said to him, I said, "Do you mind if I put my hand on your chest? I have something that God wants me to tell you." And he said, "Yes, okay." And so I put my hand on his chest and I said, "Salvatore, I want you to know that no matter what you've done, God wants you to hear this. He wants you to know that he loves you. And whatever it is that's keeping you away from him, he doesn't want that to be a barrier between the two of you. And he has a new name for you. And that new name is redeemed. That is what he calls you." Well, as soon as I said, "Your new name is redeemed," this man, just tears began to flow, just like a water faucet, to the ground, just sobbing, crying. So the pastor put his arm around him and he began to comfort him, and we prayed some more for him. And his whole countenance changed after this experience. Even though I didn't have the training to go out on the streets with the team, I was still able to participate and be part of the group. And God used me in a way that I was not expecting, and I bet the group wasn't expecting either. And it was exciting, and it was wonderful to see this man's whole face just change after we had prayed for him. And you can do that too. And I'm hoping that we can encourage you as members of Waypoint to go out into the community, that as we become more visible in the community, that you will be willing to go out and engage with people on the streets and pray for them, invite them to church, whatever it is that God puts on your heart for them. So I just want to thank you today, and that's the story I have about Revive Richmond.